I call to order the Planning Commission regular session, Cape Charles Civic Center, 500 Tazewell Avenue, September 3rd, 2024. Roll call, please.
Ashworth present.
Rosen present.
McDonald present.
Smith present.
Wright present.
Let it be known that we have a quorum. Can we stand for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anyone object to approval of the consent agenda? Hearing no objection, the consent agenda will be taken by common consent. Item 4, public hearings, none. Item 5, citizen comment period for any item not subject to an advertised public hearing. Do we have anybody?
No.
Item 6, unfinished business. Zoning map amendment 2024-01 application from Donna and Gregory only to conditionally rezone 711 Tazewell Avenue /302 Fig Street, aka the Fig Street Inn, tax map number 83A4-2-A and 83A4-2-J and 83A4-2-I from residential 1 to commercial residential CR with proffers to limit the commercial activity of a said proposed rezoning. Said property has a current conditional use permit for a bed and breakfast.
Good evening, Board. So following your last meeting, since we had many discussions at that last meeting with some concerns and other issues raised, I met with the Kohlers and talked with them about other things that they might want to consider to try and address some of the comments that were raised during the public hearing process. With that said, they have submitted a amended proffer statement, and I did want to go over that with some specificity this evening. So following that meeting, they came back and they've now offered the following additional proffers. First, in the by right use category, they would restrict as a whole antique shops, art galleries, candy stores, dry goods stores, and a leather goods store, in addition to anything they had put on the table at the last meeting. Also, they indicated they would restrict from the conditional use list daycare centers, delicatessens, ice cream parlors, and restaurants. And if you actually go to page 7 of this staff report, we have the full list so you can see it in the zoning ordinance context. During the meeting, there was concerns raised about parking and its impact on Tazewell Avenue and Fig Street, and the belief that rezoning these parcels to allow for additional businesses would exacerbate the problem. Again, the applicants have come back and they've submitted a proffer to address the parking issues by using, 1, only natural materials for the development and maintenance of the current off-street parking on their property to retain the character of the neighborhood. Currently, they have also met with Jeff Klingel Landscape to help look at ways to improve and designate the parking spaces on their off-street parking lot that they have. And they will be working during the course of this year to improve that current off-street parking lot, which is accessible from Tazewell Avenue. They've indicated they have the potential to add an additional parking space to the lot, although that would require the removal of a sycamore tree from the property. So they would prefer not to do that, but they are prepared to do so if that's would be assistance in making their case before you this evening. Finally, the applicants have also mentioned how they'd like to add a Fig Street Inn sign to the side of the building. They are aware the town is currently working on updating the sign ordinance, but the applicants have agreed to work with the town on any new signage and/or changes, updates that is appropriate for Fig Street Inn to have the proposed sign within a residential community. Additionally, they did take this opportunity to offer some explanation to their entire proffer statement on why they are seeking a rezoning for all 3 lots, because they are aware that part of the discussion was a bifurcation of 2 of the lots off, and only consider approving the rezoning for the primary lot where the building sits on. So they have prepared some explanations to that, and they're here, of course, again today to speak on that if you wish to hear from them. So I did want to give a quick update on where this sits in relation to the updated proffer statement. Again, I still feel this fits within the land use designation of the Historic District Residential on our future land use map. This land use designation specifically references that some of the historic homes have been converted into lodging and other uses, and the intent is for the plan to have flexibility in use while maintaining the character of the area and the quality of life for the residents. This particular business has been in operation at this location for the past 14 years and is intending on being in operation for years to come, but has indicated that some flexibility in its ability to conduct and offer complementary but ancillary business services is essential to their continued operation. The proffers from the applicant clearly demonstrate their intent to respect the neighborhood in which they are located, but also give a nod to the current conditions at the edge of their neighborhood block, with Wendell's Distributing Company located a block and a half to the north at the corner of Fig Street and Madison, and the former Meatland property, now home to Eastern Shore Custom Carts, which is located at the end of their street at Tazewell on the south side. I believe the proffers are limiting the more intensive uses that would impact a neighborhood with increased traffic, both from a vehicular and pedestrian traffic standpoint, as well as reducing the noise and visual impact by limiting those businesses. Staff are in support of this application with the original and amended proffers from the applicant. So I will stop and see if you have any questions for me at this point in time.
Yes, sir.
Is this considered spot zoning?
I do not believe so, no.
Okay, so spot zoning, when I went through and looked at it, it was upzoning, allowing more intensive use, which I think this is proposed, R1 to CR. And it deals with private interests of 1 or 2 landowners. So from my reading what spot zoning is, that would fall into this particular application. That's my question.
And again, I do not believe so, because I think there is consistency very nearby to where we already have commercial zoning. It may be a C1, C2, or C3 type zoning, but we have commercial zoning nearby, as well as CR, forgot the 4th one. So yes, while it is a block away from having ancillary complementary zoning of that nature, I do not believe it is spot zoning, no.
Anything else there? Commissioner Grossman?
No question.
Question? Any other questions? Go ahead.
In the report, there was talk about a wellhead on property J.
Mhm.
Does that have any real relevance if we between 1, 2, or 3 parcels being rezoned to CR?
From a zoning perspective, no. I do not believe that is relevant to the zoning consideration being asked. I think the applicants can speak as to why they feel that is relevant in making their case to the parcels themselves. So,
To further that, is that well active? Do they use that well?
they may use it from a shallow well perspective, and again, the applicant can speak to that, but it's not relevant under the zoning consideration, so.
But any business that is blocked down there, or anything that's blocked down there, is going to have to be connected to public water and sewer.
Yes, that's
Regardless
a
of the
town
well.
policy,
Right.
yes. Sorry, town code, sorry, not policy. Okay, so as I said, Ms. Kohler is here if you would like to hear from her.
Any further discussion, questions?
Nothing.
So, do I have a motion from somebody? Anybody?
I make a motion, we approve the rezoning application.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the rezoning application. Further discussion.
Can I just have, it's not to approve, to recommend.
To recommend
To,
approval.
that's right, recommend to town council.
Recommend approval to town council.
Comment? My concern is if, I understand and I'm very comfortable with doing Lot A, because that's the lot where this business would be, that's being proposed would be added, that's where the Fig Street Inn is. I'm not convinced that we need to, at this point, move on lots J and I, in that nothing's proposed and we could take those up at some future time. I mean, I think if we approve J and I, then we're approving anybody else on that block for, as long as they offer the same profit, we've opened that up. So I'm a little concerned we're taking a step that we don't need to take. And I'd be happy to revisit J and I if the owners wanted to come back and bring forward a business. I'm just not sure why we need to approve that yet. So that's my concern.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll share, I agree with certainly that, and I'm also opposed on Lot A. Right now, Lot A has a inn there. That was granted, back in 2010 or so, in accordance with our ordinance. Ordinance allowed in R1 certain special use permits, and a bed and breakfast was one of them. They applied and it was accepted. Everything's fine. We're talking now rezoning. Our comprehensive plan, future land use map, does not reflect this as a CR, as a potential going into the future. And I kind of beg to differ on the flexibility statements. It does have words to flexibility in use, maintaining the character of the air and quality of life for residences. And we know a couple of residences already talked about it at the last meeting, saying they're uncomfortable. And if you go to the historic district residential in the comp plan, it talks about maintaining single-family residential character of the district, allow for a diverse mixture of compatible recreational, governmental, and residential uses that currently exist in. Meaning that if there's something there, like Wendell's, that was there before, that's applicable. We're not talking about some future residential going into commercial. Preferred uses designation should consist of primarily single-family dwellings. Uses that support civic and recreational needs for the town residents should be compatible with the existing residential character of the area. Infill development should be compatible with existing residential structures. So from my read of the comp plan, it's very clear that we're not looking to expand commercial in this area. The CR that we're talking about is typically a transition between R1 and C1. And we did that on Mason. We went from a string of businesses, a couple properties, and converted into CR, and we went residential across the street. This is plopped down on a corner with two other lots with residential around it. So this is not a transition, in my mind, going from residential R1 to C1 and saying that this is an appropriate use of CR. The proffers, understand we eliminated a bunch, but there's still a whole bunch that still are allowed if this goes through by right and others by committed. So a clothing store, real estate office, any kind of office can go in there and just without a conditional use permit. That is permitted. So right now, with what's shown, even though there's proffers to eliminate some, we still are uncertain as to what will happen with that property, or at least the two properties, should a clothing store or retail or real estate open up there and it's impacted that whole neighborhood. That's what we're saying if we approve this going forward. So I'm not even sure, Kate, I'll ask, is this proffer in the appropriate legal form? It certainly doesn't look like a proffer that we had gotten from the hotel when we were talking about the particular land use on Randall.
Sure. I will need to work with the applicant to refine the proffer to meet our current adopted proffer standards, because part of this, the latest proffer that they provided to you provided some explanations as to why they were asking and offering the certain things or responding to some of the citizen comments. So again, the final proffer statement needs to be in hand for the town council public hearing, not necessarily for the planning commission public hearing.
Okay, all right. So that's my concern, using this as a transition in R1, and it's not in accordance with the comp plan and its desires, and therefore I cannot support the request for all three properties.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, ask the question. All in favor?
Aye.
You said aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wait, I'm sorry. I want to, this is just on Lot A, correct?
No?
No,
Okay, no,
it's
I'm
all
sorry.
three.
Okay, sorry.
So,
Can you restate the motion, Katie?
Sure, so the motion was to recommend approval of zoning map amendment 2024-01 as presented with the amended proffer statement.
so you can amend the motion. But we have to take the motion that's on the floor.
No, you can amend the motion that's on the floor.
I amend the motion that's on the floor to recommend approval to town council that they approve the rezoning for Lot A with the accompanying proffer statement.
Second.
Okay, so now we have the amended motion to forward to town council approval of rezoning of Lot A only.
Well, you're essentially removing, through this
The other-
motion, you're removing two parcels.
Right. Further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's in favor of amending the motion.
Amending the motion.
Just so you know, you're all voting in favor of amending the motion. You still got to vote on the amended motion.
Yes.
No, I am not voting for, I'm opposed to that.
Okay, so I have 5 in favor of the amendment to the motion and 1 opposed.
Right.
Okay, so now you need to vote on the amended motion as a whole.
So just for clarification,
Yes.
we had the approval of the
Which
amended
is to
motion.
amend the motion,
Right,
that was
okay.
it. And so
Now-
now, the board as a whole needs to vote
Vote.
on the new amended motion, which now reads, to recommend approval of zoning map amendment 2024-01 only for lot, is it really Lot A? Is that the,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you, Lot A, with the amended proffer statement.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I oppose.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's motion passes.
I'm coming.
All right. New business. None. 8 is report of officers and committees. None. 9, standing staff reports, planning and zoning director.
So in my monthly report to you for the month of August, I did sign off as a subdivision agent on Village L also known as Murfield Village Phase 2. And this was the creation of 58 lots, and I've enclosed the aerial as well as the specific lot layout on the plat itself. I did want to make you aware the Board of Zoning Appeals has, at this point, 2 items scheduled for their October calendar, and they are both appeals of decisions of the zoning administrator. One is relative to a decision that was issued on 204 Bay Avenue, and one was for a decision issued on tax map 83A3-1-273, which is the undeveloped lot owned by Francis Wendell on Madison Avenue. And both of those are, as I said, set for October 8th, and that begins at 10 a.m. Other than that, we
I
have,
have another question.
Yep.
With regards to the Bay Creek, is this in accordance with their PUD?
in what way?
You've adopted this L, which is a brand-new subdivision. Is that in accordance with the current PUD?
In what way are you asking, is it in accordance with? What
Well,
specific are you asking?
Yeah, is it shown up in there as a future
Yes.
subdivision? That's my question.
Village L, yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
So this triangle or whatever you have here shows up in the PUD as a future development, and that's what's shown on the final layout?
There may be some tweaks because they have changed some contours of some of the golf cart, no, there's not a golf cart, there's a golf course, sorry. So yeah, but essentially, yes, this was a planned subdivision within the Bay Creek PUD,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Any idea when they're gonna come with a revised PUD? It's been in the works for 2 years or more?
As soon as the town finishes its own zoning ordinance revisions.
They're ready to submit?
Well, they need to review our final adoption of any changes to our zoning ordinance to determine what they would incorporate within the PUD.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Okay?
Um,
That's,
I'm sorry, no, you're good. Katie, is it appropriate for you to just give us some background on these zoning, Board of Appeals zoning cases that'll be taken up on October 8th? Can you give us, I'm just, any
Sure,
more
on-
background on the nature of these?
on which one or
appeals?
both of them?
Both of them.
So for 204 Bay Avenue, that individual, that property owner, was instructed to file certain paperwork from the Historic District and zoning ordinance approvals. They did not do that before the work was completed. They did all that work and then told us about it afterwards.
I see.
And while they have since now filed the paperwork after the fact, they have not paid all the fines associated with it. And that's essentially what they're appealing, are the fines at this point in time.
This is the roof, right?
Yes, it's 204 Bay Avenue for the roof. And on the Francis Wendell, we issued them a violation for permanently parking a vehicle on a undeveloped lot and basically treating it as a parking lot in the residential 1 district. And so we've asked them to remove the vehicle. It's because we do not allow a parking lot in the residential 1 district. It's meant to be complementary. A driveway is meant to be complementary to a house or structure. There is no house or structure there. We've asked him to remove the vehicle or even place it on his adjacent lot if he could fit it there,
Where
which
is
he
this
cannot.
located?
This particular lot is on Madison Avenue. He owns the lot behind it. So he has a house directly behind this, but he cannot accommodate fitting this vehicle, it's a bus, onto his residence property. And so he has filed an appeal to my decision that he is operating an illegal parking lot in the R1 district. Yes. Yep. Anything else?
Number 10, announcements. Next meeting, regular meeting, Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, at 6 p.m. Any other announcements?
For those who don't know, the beachfront master plan has been, I don't know what they're calling it, the beachfront master plan concept plan drawings.
Yeah.
It's on the website, the town website. So if you haven't received that notification, I can definitely send that to you. And we urge everyone to have a chance to review it, look at it, submit your comments. Their comments are being accepted through the end of September, I believe.
Yeah, I was talking to Libby with regards to looking at it on the iPad. I think it's very difficult. It's almost, you require a computer in order to access it efficiently. So I just asked to look into that and see if maybe hard copies may be needed for people.
I'm not involved in this particular project. It's all being done through the town manager's office and the consultant, so I'm sure she'll pass those along to the town manager.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.